This presentation will be recorded, and so everyone will be receiving the slides that we'll be presenting along with the recording of the Zoom. Yeah, we'll get started here in momentarily. It's a pleasure to see everyone. Glad to see everyone could make it out today. All right, perfect. So as everyone gets in, we can go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and give my colleagues permissions. All right, perfect. So welcome in, everyone. Thank you for coming. Welcome into the LARC Regional Program Advisory on AI, Tech, and Innovation. This session will be recorded, and like I mentioned before, all the participants will be emailed the PowerPoint slides and lookbook at a later time, probably later either tomorrow or early next week. My name is Pablo Martinez, Assistant Program Manager for Workforce Development at the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation, also known as LAEDC. LAEDC is a nonprofit organization that serves LA County. Our mission is to reinvent our economy to collaboratively advance growth and prosperity for all Angelinos. This advisory is brought to you in small part by our team at LAEDC. And so we've been working hard along with our partners at LARC in order to bring this presentation to you today. What you can expect from today's advisory and beyond, LA19 is leading industry education partnerships to collaboratively strengthen our region's talent development ecosystem. This includes data-driven research on the supply and demand for talent, industry councils and regional program advisories like the one today, and also developing work-based learning and employment opportunities throughout the region. And with that, it is my pleasure now to introduce Dr. Narine Makhijian, Chair, Assistant Vice President of the Los Angeles Regional Consortium.
Thank you so much, Pablo. On behalf of the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us for today's AI advisory focused on technology and innovation across industries. It's a privilege to convene this group of thought leaders, educators, and industry partners who are shaping the future of our region's workforce. The Los Angeles Regional Consortium, a collaborative of LA19's community colleges, is committed to providing accessible, affordable education that closes the skills gap and advances economic and social mobility. Our mission is to bridge the supply and demand gap by training a diverse, highly skilled workforce ready to meet the needs of our region's industries. We are especially grateful to our partners at LAEDC, the Center of Excellence, our LARC team for your continued leadership and partnership in this work. To the incredible faculty and staff leaders representing our LA19 colleges, thank you for showing up, for your creativity, and for leading innovative AI efforts across our campuses. And a heartfelt thank you to our industry partners that have joined us today, who continue to provide invaluable insights, mentorship, and alignment. Your commitment to working alongside education ensures our students are not only prepared, but positioned to lead in a rapidly evolving workforce shaped by AI and emerging technologies. Today is about continued collaboration. Together, we're building a more inclusive and future-ready workforce for LA County, and doing so with purpose and heart. Thank you again for being here. We look forward to a meaningful and productive discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Makhijian. Next up, I'd like to introduce Jermaine Hampton, Vice President of Workforce Development and Special Projects at LAEDC.
Thank you, Pablo, and hello, everyone, and good morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Makhijian. Thank you to the LARC. Thank you to all of our college partners, and then also our industry partners as well that are on this call. And so LAEDC, we've been around for 40 plus years. We really integrate a comprehensive strategy through engagement, research, business assistance, workforce development, and international trade. This approach supports industry cluster development and regional growth, robust public-private partnerships, fostering a more equitable and sustainable economic landscape. And so really happy to hear about this conversation today. We know that AI is in automation are impacting all of our key sectors really across LA County. That's really driving our GDP. So that's everything from biotechnology all the way to advanced manufacturing, right? And so when you're thinking about AI and automation, how are we integrating this into our school systems? And not just at the college level, but at the K through 12 level on up. And so across our training providers as well. And so thousands of workers are really at risk, right? When you're thinking about the integration of automation and AI. So how can we ensure that the talent pipeline has the skills and abilities to be able to transition into this new future of our workforce? And so I'm very happy about this conversation today. Looking forward to the thoughts from our subject matter experts and our employer partners on the call, and looking forward to a bright conversation. Thank you all so much. And I look forward to a good conversation.
Thank you, Jermaine. Next up to present LADC's findings and data on the current industry in LA County, I'd like to introduce Matthew Skyberg, our Senior GIS Research Analyst working in our Institute of Applied Economics.
All right, thank you, Pablo. So yeah, as Pablo said, my name is Matthew Skyberg, and I'm the Senior GIS Research Analyst with the Institute for Applied Economics at LAEDC, which is the research arm of LAEDC. And today I'm going to be presenting some findings from our analysis of the AI tech and innovation research we've been doing, and focusing specifically on how artificial intelligence is transforming middle skill occupations across the 8 priority sectors that are identified by LARC. So next slide. So artificial intelligence is no longer just in the domain of tech and tech companies and research labs. It's now part of everyday operations in industries like healthcare, logistics, and manufacturing. And so our focus is on middle skill roles. Those that require more than a high school diploma, but not necessarily a 4-year degree. And to understand AI's reach, we analyzed job postings from 2015 through 2024 using a carefully selected set of AI-related keywords. And this allowed us to assess both the volume and the depth and the share of AI integration across middle skill occupations within the 8 priority sectors. So as we can see here, the 8 priority sectors are advanced manufacturing, advanced transportation and logistics, business and entrepreneurship / global trade, energy, construction and utilities, health, information and communication technologies, or ICT / digital media, life sciences and biotechnology, and retail, hospitality, and tourism. Next slide. So from just under 1,900 AI-related job postings in 2015 to more than 18,900 in 2024, we've seen a tenfold increase in this time period. And this data shows that accelerated growth started in 2018, peaking in 2022, which was followed by a dip in 2023, but we had a strong rebound last year in 2024. And this trend underscores how deeply AI is becoming embedded into the regional economy. Next slide. So that last one was showing the volume of job postings. Now, as we look at the share of job postings, this may be even more telling, is the growing share of AI-related postings across the broader labor market. So in 2015, AI appeared in just 0.3% of all postings. And by 2024, that figure had grown to a high of 2.4%. And even during slower years like 2020 and 2023, the share of AI postings held steady or grew slightly. And this is highlighting the staying power and the relevance of AI technologies. Next slide. So now as we break this down by the 8 priority sectors, we can see that information and communication technologies / digital media leads the way with over 15% of job postings referencing AI. And that's more than 3 times higher than the next sector, which is life sciences and biotechnology, which are just over 5%. Other sectors like advanced manufacturing.
I think we should be a rollover because I gotta look at all.
Sorry. Other sectors like advanced manufacturing and business and entrepreneurship / global trade And even retail, hospitality, and tourism are also seeing early stage or accelerating adoption of AI tools. And this includes tasks like diagnostics, marketing, and inventory optimization. Next slide. So when we shift from just the share of postings to the total volume, we can see that business and entrepreneurship / global trade tops the list, where they account for 22.4% of all AI-related postings across the job market. ICT, digital media ranks second, and this is followed by advanced manufacturing, health, and then energy, construction, and utility sectors. So this spread shows that the AI adoption is not confined to just one domain. It's touching nearly every corner of the economy. Next slide. So now we'll take a closer look at each of the 8 large priority sectors. And for each, I'll highlight how AI is being applied, which middle skill occupations are the most affected, and what this means for training programs. So beginning with advanced manufacturing, we're seeing this sector undergoing a major shift. AI is now used for predictive maintenance, design automation, and smart production monitoring. Middle skill roles include electromechanical technicians, calibration technicians, CNC programmers, who are all on the front lines of this shift. And they're operating AI integrated systems and interpreting AI diagnostics. So training programs must now also include smart sensors, AI enhanced CAD, and hybrid mechanical digital competencies. So we're seeing a lot of where roles are requiring more digital competencies, even in roles that were traditionally more mechanical mindset. Next slide. So AI in advanced transportation and logistics is still emerging, but showing promise. Key applications include vehicle diagnostics, route optimization, and warehouse automation. Middle skill workers, such as logisticians, equipment installers, and production clerks, are all starting to work with these systems. And so training programs should teach predictive diagnostics, routing software, and inventory tools. And again, a blend of mechanical skills with logistics analytics. Next slide. So the business and entrepreneurship / global trade sector is integrating AI in finance, sales, and customer support. Roles like tax preparers, sales supervisors, and administrative assistants are using CRM platforms, AI forecasting tools, and automated compliance systems. So training programs should emphasize data fluency, project-based learning, and the ethical use of AI in decision-making. And that's something we're seeing in a couple of these is just the ethical use of AI. It's not always just cut and dry. You can take what you have. You have to have a little bit more of human insight in determining what's ethical and what's right to use. Next slide. So in the energy, construction, and utility sector, AI is supporting smart grid operations, building diagnostics, and predictive maintenance. Drafters, installers are using AI augmented BIM and CAD tools, BIM being building information modeling and CAD is computer aided design. While field techs rely on sensor data for real-time monitoring. Education programs should include energy analytics, cross-disciplinary system training, and certifications in BIM and smart infrastructure systems. Next slide. So now as we turn to the healthcare sector, AI is helping with imaging, diagnostics, and patient monitoring. Middle skill roles include MRI technologists, sonographers who are using AI daily to improve scan accuracy and workflow efficiency. And training programs should incorporate digital imaging platforms, health informatics, and medical ethics surrounding patient data. So that's another ethical use, especially including patient data and what's appropriate to use with AI and not appropriate. And next slide. So this is information and communication technologies and digital media. This was the sector that led in AI exposure with over 15% of job postings in 2024 referencing AI tools. Middle skill occupations include network administrators and architects, IT support specialists, and video editors. And these roles are all essential to deploying and managing AI tools across organizations. So education programs should offer hands-on practice in cloud platforms, scripting languages, and responsible AI deployment. And next slide. So in the life sciences and biotechnology sector, AI is accelerating lab automation, drug discovery, and genomic diagnostics. Technicians and support staff are using AI platforms for high volume testing and bioinformatics. So education should cover lab software, cross-training in science and computing, and ethical use of AI in research. And next slide. So although adoption is still in the early stages in retail, hospitality, and tourism, AI is emerging in marketing, customer engagement, and inventory forecasting. So we're seeing roles like gambling managers and travel agents are beginning to use dynamic pricing, virtual tour platforms, chatbots, and AI-assisted scheduling tools. And so education programs should introduce digital merchandising tools and highlight issues of automation and equity in service roles. And we are seeing a lot of these training programs that have already picked up stuff. Luke from Co will follow with this, showing some of the programs that already exist and the work that's already being done at the community college level. Next slide. So AI across all sectors is reshaping how work is done, not just what jobs exist. So middle skill workers now operate hybrid systems, they interpret AI dashboards, and they balance automation with human oversight. So the top impacted roles range from network architects and MRI technicians to science technicians and CNC operators. Next slide. And what we're seeing is that AI isn't necessarily replacing workers, but it's changing the expectations. So employers want workers who can interact with AI systems, understand outputs, and collaborate across departments. So that means training programs must now embed these AI competencies across all career pathways, from IT to healthcare to construction. Next slide. So we've developed 5 recommendations for preparing the middle skill workforce for an AI integrated future. First one is integrate applied AI into career education. So this embeds sector-specific AI tools into existing programs. That might mean predictive maintenance software in manufacturing, or AI diagnostic tools in health, or marketing analytics in business education. And students should engage directly with the platforms that they're going to be using on the job in the real world. Next slide. So recommendation number 2 is create short-term credentials. Short-term stackable credentials allow both new and current workers to quickly gain relevant AI competencies, whether it's a certification in AI diagnostics or CRM analytics. This approach boosts access and flexibility. And then number 3 is align training with real-world AI use. So by partnering with employers to co-design curriculum and identify tools in use and supporting internships, the advisory boards and apprenticeships are key to aligning classroom training with actual job tasks. Next slide. And number 4 is support incumbent workers, or so incumbent worker upskilling. So as AI tools continue to evolve, we need to ensure that current workers aren't left behind. So recommendation 4 is to create flexible training opportunities tailored for incumbent workers. That means, could mean evening and weekend classes or online options, or even on-site upskilling in partnership with employers. And these pathways allow workers to transition into tech-enabled roles without sacrificing their current employment. And then number 5 is emphasize interdisciplinary skills. So our final recommendation focuses on cross-functional abilities. The future workforce needs to be comfortable blending technical operation, data interpretation, and soft skills like communication and collaboration. So training program should prepare students for work across job boundaries, such as combining clinical expertise with AI imaging systems, or logistics coordination with automation software. This approach will support both job mobility and equity by reaching learners from diverse backgrounds. Next slide. So to recap, AI-related job postings grew tenfold over the last decade. All 8 LARC sectors showed signs of transformation, with ICT, digital media, and life sciences biotechnology leading the way, but every sector is adapting. And community colleges must continue to respond with updated curriculum, and include fast-track credentials and strong employer engagement. Because AI is so evolving and changing so rapidly, this employer engagement is really important to understand what employers' needs are and to adapt the programs based on their input. So bottom line is AI is here. It's changing how we work, and the education system must continue to adapt and evolve to keep pace. Next slide. All right, so that concludes my time for the presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at matthew.skyberg@laedc.org, and I'll be happy to engage with you further. I'll turn it back to you, Pablo.
Thank you, Matthew. Next up to present the findings and data on the current programs offered at the LA19 Community Colleges, Luke Meyer, Director at the Center of Excellence hosted at Mount San Antonio College.
Thank you, Pablo, and thank you, Matt, for that. And thank you to everybody for joining us. This is quite a different regional program advisory than we typically do. Usually we look at we have a specific methodology LAEDC follows with the demand for in healthcare and accounting, in aerospace and whatnot. And this is not like that. And then we provide the supply side on, specific programs within a sector or a top code, and AI is cutting across all of these. So it made, AI changed our jobs just for this particular thing. So, I just want to point that out, that this is a tricky area to pin down, but I think that
I feel like I start a meeting.
In discussing all of this, we figured it out. I don't know what that was. All right, next slide. Go ahead, Pablo. Let's get started. So as a disclaimer to everyone, this is data that I sourced directly from the Chancellor's Office Curriculum Inventory. And so if I saw a lot of faculty on the call, if you have initiatives related to AI on your campus, similar or programs, like there's a lot of programs we have in cybersecurity, for example, or cloud computing, which likely incorporate elements of AI, but it's not explicit in the program title, or, our top code manual does not have a code specifically for AI. So this is what it was available in COKI. So I encourage all the faculty and staff at all of our colleges on the call to share if you have initiatives or courses or programs, either in the chat or my email will be up at the end of this. You can share with me. But in terms of existing programs, our host college, Mount San Antonio, this has been, according to COKI, the longest standing program in artificial intelligence, led by our amazing faculty, Sohair Zaki. And this is Artificial Intelligence for Business, which basically introduced students to data science, data analysis. She has other programs on big data that she gets into, data mining, text mining, business intelligence, and then she gets into machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, also large language models and other research. So, and her focus is specifically on how to apply these models and AI towards business. And there's a degree pathway and also a certificate pathway for that. So that is the one program in Koki that comes up looking for artificial intelligence programs. So we'll look at some other programs that are forthcoming, and you'll see there's quite a few, and then we'll look at some courses. So go ahead with the next slide, Pablo. So Santa Monica's applied artificial intelligence. This has gone through all of the rounds of approval, and they are just waiting to get the program underway. But as indicated in the title, being applied, they're looking at all the different fields. So not necessarily I wouldn't say strict business focus, because business can be pretty far-reaching as well as Santa Monica, but getting into the different applications of AI. So how can you use this in an applied setting, basically for your job to be more productive, to automate some things that you don't need to spend a lot of time on, so you can spend time on the higher level processing things, and then also ethical considerations, which is really great to see, because unfortunately this is kind of still the Wild West, where legislation, laws, regulations are significantly lacking in this area in terms of AI. Please cite your sources, give credit where credit's due, and all of those other things to protect human jobs. So this is a certificate program at Santa Monica that's going to be starting, I maybe in the fall. I'm not quite sure on that, but if anybody here is from Santa Monica, maybe have some more information. All right, next slide, Pablo. So the other programs, these are programs that we receive LMI requests for. So for any CTE top code program, requesters or starters of the program need to justify the existence of the program with labor market data. So as you can see here, we have Cerritos in the pipeline with a very similar program in applied artificial intelligence, same with Long Beach. And you can see Long Beach also has an AI literacy and AI and machine learning foundations and fundamentals of generative AI at the lower level, and then a degree as an AI professional. So Long Beach is really doing a lot of work in this space. We got a request recently from Mount SAC for their supply management program, but this is basically modifying it to incorporate skills like cloud computing, data analytics, blockchain, and AI. So this is a good example of what Matt was going through with job postings by industry sector. And as opposed to having, the programs you see there, applied artificial intelligence, it is much more focused on a specific industry, this likely specific jobs with logisticians or transportation managers and things that warehousing. So a lot more focused application of AI. And then Pasadena, of course, has artificial intelligence and machine learning coming up. And you can see the top codes being used there, as well as the award types. But the top codes, again, a shortcoming of our top code manual is that we don't have one for AI. So again, making quantifying AI programs much more difficult when you have to search across various top codes, especially using all other top code. All right, next slide, please, Pablo. All right, so courses. I cast somewhat of a broad net, but I also did not include specific ones. Like there are cybersecurity and a lot of database management and other things that are adjacent to AI and likely include AI elements. But I did choose to include all of the courses related to Microsoft Azure, the cloud computing platform with Microsoft, because that is likely going to incorporate some of those elements. But then as you go down, you can see other courses from fundamentals of Gen AI to AI in the workplace. Mount SAC is really specific with generative artificial intelligence, large language models, and natural language processing in business. That's for that AI in business degree. Data science, there's some data mining involved in that. Generative AI fundamentals, skills. And then Santa Monica also has creative coding. So I've recently read about vibe coding, basically just describing what you want coded to a generative AI tool. And it's really great at coding and generative art. So I think of platforms like DALL-E and whatnot, and how those have changed and improved over times. I used to so I won't tell the anecdote because I know we want to get to our broader discussion. And then also Santa Monica teaching in the age of AI. So looking at the educator side of things and equipping educators with best strategies for incorporating AI into their classroom, grading, and perhaps even using, I know there's a lot of concern about students maybe just asking ChatGPT to write your paper and then submitting it, and having tools to sort of weed that out and encourage students to think more critically and whatnot. Okay, so now we'll talk about some statewide and regional initiatives. And again, if you have any others beyond what I mentioned here, please feel free to share that. Go ahead, Pablo. So I think one of the biggest and most amazing collaborations is this partnership with our 116 community colleges and NVIDIA, which was initiated by Gavin Newsom and the Taiwanese American NVIDIA founder up in the Bay Area, Jensen Huang, basically looking to train students, also educators, and also workers, basically supporting job creation and promoting innovation in the area, and using AI to solve challenges that can improve the lives of California, commuting patterns, smog, a lot of things that we're faced with here, battling wildfires, earthquakes, things of that nature. So, I got to say, I don't know exactly what the playbook is for this and the rollout is of this, but I do know this is the first of its kind and pretty innovative on the side of the community colleges. So look forward to big things from that. Next. And then at our chancellor's office, there has been a task force formed on generative AI and the future of learning. So Gen AI is in our Vision 2030. There's a lot related to equity and access, learning and outcomes, and Gen AI plays a role in that. There's a lot of information at the hyperlinks here for AI professional development and learning opportunities. But basically, this whole work group has worked to support teaching and learning using generative AI, how to communicate with students about it, student engagement and retention, operational administrative efficiency. There's a lot of opportunity there. And then to always have equity at mind in terms of support, access, and success. So those are two statewide initiatives. Now we'll focus a little bit more on our region in LA. Next. The LARC AI Innovation Summit. I was honored to be able to present some data there alongside a lot of other professionals in this space that brought together almost 400 different educators and other industry professionals from the region to basically talk about the intersection of AI, education, and workforce. So it was an amazing event, and Narne posted the link in the chat. And so there's more recap things. There was follow-up meetings. There's also a special partnership with Microsoft for a boot camp in AI, all that you can find at that link that is in the chat. So at our regional level, there's been a lot done, and I'm sure others have other initiatives that I'd love to hear about. I'm not the sole source for all of this information, although we do our best to try to capture everything. Next. Then we're almost there. So Strong Workforce Program, for those of you not aware, it's a regional and local funding source, and the regional projects, go through voting. And one of these that's proposed is AI literacy and innovation. That is led by Long Beach City College. So that was no surprise to see them featured in the courses and programs pretty heavily, because they've done a lot of work in this space. But basically, it's to offer more programs and develop career curriculum in different spaces, faculty professional development. It'll include different exhibitions and workshops on the latest trends in AI, and then also engaging industry. So, ultimately we need to know from employers, and that's what Matt was looking at with job postings. What competencies in AI specifically do employers look for that we can weave into our curriculum for these programs? So those are two regional initiatives. Again, during the discussion, feel free to share. Go ahead, Pablo. I believe my contact. Oh, yeah, right. We'll summarize things up first. So the AI program and course development, that's been ongoing, and it really has increased over the last 2 years, especially the last year. You saw all those programs that are forthcoming. Those are requests that we've received since January. So when we only have a few existing programs, it really is going to be, that shows our colleges are responsive to the demands of the regional labor market. And then all of the regional and statewide AI initiatives, not only to support program and course development, but other priorities such as getting our students jobs. The relationship with NVIDIA is huge. So there's a lot of activity in this space. And then also, one recommendation would be looking at more sector-specific AI program development. So that job posting analysis with the different skills that Matt did by our 8 priority sectors is amazing, because there's a lot of great ideas there. But we're already seeing that before we did this with Mount Sac supply chain management request that is going to incorporate elements of AI into the curriculum. So they're going to modify and update their curriculum, existing stuff. And some other examples based on some of that could happen for, certain colleges are really great in these areas, like biotechnology, I believe Mission and maybe Valley, and there's many others, don't get me wrong, but biotech lab automation, Gen AI assisted genomic analysis, for example, could be a focus. And in advanced manufacturing, I'm actually at a conference up here in Sacramento, C2ER, which is a labor market researchers from around the country, and there was something on smart manufacturing, and it had 15 different components of smart grids and ways to have predictive maintenance for failure of some of their machines, and how different companies were incorporating that. I found that really fascinating. So Gen AI assisted predictive maintenance in manufacturing and smart manufacturing would be appropriate. Smart electrical grid management with Gen AI platforms. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we just received a request for industrial automation, so involving a lot of work of robotics and some of that stuff related to predictive maintenance. So it is all happening before our eyes, and our community colleges are doing an amazing job of keeping up with these demands. So I hope I captured some of that here. But the next slide is my contact information. So if you have feedback, or if there's anything you'd like to share with me, please send me an email. But looking forward to the rest of the conversation. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to you, Pablo.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you very much for the presentations, Luke and Matthew. So now we'll be moving into our roundtable discussion panel with our invited industry experts. So please, I invite everyone to stay on mute throughout the discussion, but also feel free to use the chat box to submit any questions that you may have. There will be some time where we do some Q&A following the moderated panel. And so speaking on the moderated panel, today's panel will be moderated by our Director of Workforce Development here at LADC, Jose Pelayo, and also moderated by Alicia Nien, the Program Manager of Workforce Development. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our first industry expert. Nai Ariana is an award-winning innovative business transformational leader with progressively complex experience in enabling technologies, cybersecurity risk management, ethical human-based generative artificial intelligence, business process innovations, and strategic transformations at the Port of Long Beach. Welcome in. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce Tekla Moquin. Tekla Moquin is the Skills to Job lead for the Americas, Asia Pacific, and Australia at Amazon Web Services, working across government, education, and commercial sectors to align skill-based pathways to entry-level cloud-enabled tech jobs. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Rena Wolzinger. Dr. Rena Wolzinger is an award-winning innovator at the intersection of education, technology, and the arts. Named the 2025 EdTech Awards Trendsetter, she is Technical Director at Eduvators and former Chief Academic Officer at EON Realty, where she has led the adoption of emerging technologies in education. Welcome in. And last but not least, Dr. Dana Provitt has 30 years of human resources experience that includes both consulting and in-house compensation leadership. She has advised organizations on a wide range of human resources and employee compensation issues across multiple industries and sectors, including higher education and the public sector. She represents Deloitte today. Thank you very much for joining us. And Jose, the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Pablo. So first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for being in attendance, specifically our industry partners, our community colleges. Special thank you to Luke and Matthew for a great presentation. Myself, Jose Pelayo, I'm the Director of Workforce Development with LAEDC. My colleague and I, Alicia, have the pleasure of moderating today's conversation. As we heard from both of our presenters, AI is here. It's here in our priority sector, so very interested in conversation. We do have an array of great panelists here. So I'd like to kind of begin by giving you guys an opportunity to introduce your organization very briefly and what's going on. So I see Nariana first. If you want to introduce yourself, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pablo. Sorry, the mouse sticker. My name is Nariana Michael. I'm the CIO at the Port of Long Beach. The Port of Long Beach, along with the Port of LA, 40% of the goods that come into this country come through us. It's the quickest and fastest way for all goods. And believe it or not, most is still coming from China, but from all parts of the Pacific. So 1 in 7 jobs in LA and Orange County is directly attributable to the Port of Long Beach. And 1 in 7 million jobs across the country are directly related to the Port of Long Beach. So this topic here is near and dear to our hearts. And AI, I'm a computer scientist by training. And believe it or not, artificial intelligence is not new. And my professor in college wrote the first AI program, Dr. Slagle, in 1961. So I was writing those programs, but we saw and to live and be here that we're in generative AI and it is affecting jobs. And I'm really excited to participate in this discussion, especially based on what was just introduced in the research. Thank you.
Thank you, Nariana. Tekla, I believe I see you next.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. So I represent the Skills to Jobs team at AWS. Skills to Jobs works backwards from employer needs to build industry-aligned, future-proof skilling pathways that empower learners with cloud, emerging technologies, and job readiness skills. Our team has 2 goals. 1, to modernize higher education programs of study to align with industry demand, and 2, connect learners from those programs with employers who want to hire them. And we do this through a series of applied learning events. And since our launch in 2023, we've connected over 62,000 learners from over 990 colleges and universities with over 780 employers globally. We operate across 13 countries, including the US, and it's so good to be with you today.
Thank you so much. Dr. Wolzinger?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me here today. Dr. Rena Wolzinger. So I spent the last 6 years in heavy industry with being the chief academic officer at EON Reality, which is an AI XR company and in over 100 countries. And now I've written over 60 courses in AI, 3 in the community colleges system in South County. And I can tell you they're very popular. It's...
You have too many Zoom meetings.
So, okay, there we go. So as you saw, the labor market's changing quickly. There's skills in almost every job, and even in Mount SAC, so I work with the IT department there. There are all the advisory meetings that I've been to. AI is the head topic. IT and business is being affected immediately. So interested to hear everybody's questions today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Last but not least, Dr. Provit.
Hi, thank you, and good morning. So my work at Deloitte is primarily involved in the human resources space, and I've been working with higher ed institutions for many years in talking about job design, and lately a lot of questions about AI and job design, how AI is changing the way jobs appear, and sort of the slow change as staff employees in higher ed institutions start to do their work a little bit differently. But today I'll also be able to bring some insight from our firm as a whole, considering we do a lot of work with higher ed institutions on student use of AI and how we can best prepare students for the future in that way. So I've been able to reach out to some of my colleagues and get some insights from them as well. So I'm excited to hear what kinds of questions will be coming up and what I can offer as insight there.
Thank you so much, ladies. I'm very excited as we can see that we have industry experts from our priority sectors with LARC. So I'm hoping we have great conversation. Just kind of want to go over logistics again. We'll moderate some questions towards the end, last 20 minutes. Audience, you have the opportunity to raise your hand and directly engage the panelists. If you do have a question and want to drop it in the chat, feel free to do so, and myself or Alicia will get back to that question. So want to begin with the first question that will be opening to the entire panelists, but I want to go first with Dr. Provit since you were the last to speak, if that's okay with you. Speaking on the state of the industry, just kind of get your perspective of what the trends and insights you can share from your organization, the current perspective of how current and future impact of AI. So essentially, any insights on where AI is kind of affecting you? Floor is yours.
Yes, absolutely. I would say the primary trend I'm seeing is how institutions can use AI to improve student success. So the employees right now at the university level and college level, how can they shift their daily tasks? How can they use AI to bring efficiencies to identifying where student needs are and where student success can be quickened by the tools that they have available? So we're hearing a lot of questions from higher ed institutions in that space.
No, that definitely, thank you. And again, I wanted to open up to any of the panelists who want to jump in on the question is what trends and insights can you share from your perspective or industry regarding the current and future impact of AI?
Sure, Jose, I can share. So across our cloud ecosystem, AI is moving from caution and experimentation into production. And our higher education customers are embedding AI into learning platforms for things like personalized tutoring or grading assistance. They're leveraging AI to streamline operations for admissions and student engagement. And they're empowering faculty and researchers with scalable machine learning infrastructure to support their work.
No, that's interesting that you said you're actually implementing already. So that's key component that you mentioned. Dr. Wolzinger, I see you unmuted yourself. I'm sure you have some great feedback in this question.
Yeah, I mean, for students, especially like learning how to use AI properly and ethically. So, learning how to cite your sources, but learning how to use, for example, several AIs at the same time to get really good answers, but then, doing your own work and using AI to kind of make you more powerful. So that's what I've seen and expected in the job market is just to do more work than we did before, to be frank, with the help of AI. But if you're just using AI to do all of your work, then that's going to lead down the wrong road. So I think ethics in AI is like pretty critical for our students to learn how and when to use it and then explain how they did it.
Thank you, Dr. Wolzinger. Nariana?
Yes, absolutely have to add to everything that's been said so far. The trends that I see are two perspectives. I have two sides. One, there's our internal systems and our internal processes that we use, but yet we're also in the goods movement. So all our stakeholders, the supply chain is from goods are made in China when they get on the ship to when they get to shore, to when they get on the train or the truck, to the warehouse, to the store for you. So that second part of the supply chain, you'll notice I don't control you or the trains or whatever, but yet we influence them. So on that part, from 10 years ago, I was talking about this, and you're seeing more automated, I hate to use that word, but you're seeing, some of you have seen driverless cars. There's a shortage of truckers. And even if with the clean air, the port is a green port, and we really invest a lot of money in environmental technologies that do not exist, the trucks, the trains, all the equipment that's coming will have an element of automation and Gen AI in it. And so with that, we're doing everything that we can to assist, but we do have one of the largest labor unions, the longshoremen, and there is, and I want to speak on that part. There is a real fear out there in many places that AI will replace their jobs. And so in some places, it's really, really strong. Any automation potential that you have has to be really discussed with those stakeholders. And so internally, one thing I've always done is the ethics of it and the human-centeredness of it. So the education so that everybody has the same understanding, because it's either, oh, it's magic, it does anything and I don't need to check, or, oh my God, the Terminator's coming to get us. So our role is to actually educate everybody to understand what is it. It's not necessarily magic and do great things. So the trends are whether workforces are in the experimental stage, many of the platforms that we use, as you heard, AWS, Microsoft, they're including AI in it, and because it's cloud-based, they're pushing it out. So we're having to educate our workforce in real time and also looking for the new people that come in to already have those skill sets. So it's an exciting, bumpy time.
Thank you, Narayana. I think you made some great points. Is your incumbent workers are also needing the training, but also the future of workforce need to have the skills necessary in different components. And appreciate everyone's comments. I think it kind of reiterates the presentation that was made by Luke and Matthew that AI is here and it's affecting our priority sectors and different components. We'd like to go to the second question. Again, it's open to everyone, but I like to stay with Narayana. Narayana, you are an award-winning innovative business transformational leader. So I guess, this would be perfect for you to kind of begin the conversation. Beyond generative AI, and we know like ChatGPT, what other types of AI technologies are affecting the industry? I know there's machine learning, computer vision, natural language processing. There's different components, but anything that we should be aware of besides AI, any other components?
Yes, there are so many out there, to be honest with you. There's so many startups out there. I think in the end, we'll see what actually comes out of it. But a few months ago, I was at a conference and the next people think about robots, but the next level are what we're calling humanoids. Instead of just experimental, they're actually here. They're not robots. They actually, I don't want to say they think for themselves, but they look like, and they are actually make decisions without human intervention. And so there's one that's out in a manufacturer, I won't name them, they're out there. And they say it's for jobs where the human has to keep leaning, all the time, and they've got their back. So they've got a humanoid. It looks like a human. It walks like a human. I mean, it's all steel. And the experiment they did for us was to tell this robot, everybody brought some laundry. The robot has never seen that laundry and said, sort laundry. One of the toughest things for Gen AI and humanoids is the fingers and making that just right. And it actually went and said, find the pink t-shirts, pick the pink t-shirts and sorted the laundry. It's not that there's something specific about laundry, but it's one of the most difficult ones. So the next level is there will be human looking like humanoids. They're already out there. When they're in the assembly plants or warehouses, they're separated for the humans just in case that there's nothing wrong. So what I see out there is a little bit, the technology is getting ahead of, and we went from, let's say, an assistant, right? Like you can give a task, Siri, do this, to a coach, somebody that can talk to you, to intelligence augmentation. So the trends will be like in places like Japan, there's older people, there's not enough younger people, and people are lonely. So they actually use many of those, and they're looking more, they're trying to make them more human-like. So that's what I'm seeing. As for the organizations out there, there are too many to name, but I think going with the main ones to see which will actually, you know, survive. But the one thing I do want to add, especially since we're talking about like colleges, the ethical and the guidelines for how these new innovative technologies will participate in our work is up to us. If we don't, the politicians will create some guidelines, and some politicians are not as well versed in this area, and they may make some mistakes. So I think there's an opportunity as the colleges are teaching some of these courses to also come up with guidelines for your university or college or workplace. That's what we're doing. And I'm actually incorporating everybody. It's got to be a bottom up. Some of the young people, even if they don't know how to do it at work, many of them experimented with all kinds of Gen AI. So we're coming up with guidelines and legal, involving all legal partners in it too. Thank you.
No, thank you for those great points. Opening the floor for any other input. Again, question is, beyond generative AI, what other types of AI technologies are making significant inroads in your industry? So, Mariana, you made some great points. Thank you for some insights in there and you know, preparing us for the future, what we can expect. Anyone else in the panel want to jump in and add their input?
I'd love to jump in. So I also work in the film industry, and even just yesterday, we're doing B-roll, which is approved by all the academies to do B-roll in film. And so sitting here with the director and doing B-roll using AI video, which is kind of a very expensive process, but a lot less expensive than shooting that B-roll. If you can imagine like emergencies or different situations that directors envision, but they might not have the, you know, these are a lot of films that are, I'd say, under $500,000 will be doing this because of the budget. So that's a big change. In the music industry, I'm part of the Recording Academy. We're working with AI companies in order to have things that are commercially available. So if you have to get a license to do things commercially available, but you can put music in to projects now and have that available. That's new. In curriculum writing, so agentic AI, I think, is going to be massive. That's one of the things that I do. So that, you know, faculty now can use agentic AI and do really amazing interactive lessons. And so one of the big things I think is going to change in a lot of industries, I'm thinking about automotive training, aviation training, is we all watch videos to train now, but I really think it's going to change into interactive types of lessons where you're interacting with information instead of just watching a video and answering questions, which has been our typical training for those industries for quite a few years now.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and
Go for it, Dr. Provitt.
Yeah, if I could jump in too, I would second that agentic AI but I would also say that using AI solutions for predictive modeling for student recruitment is also something that we're seeing. There's a Deloitte tool actually called Candidate 360 that's been used and tested for some of that, and it has a lot of opportunity to provide information for HR areas and student areas as well.
And I'll plus one on the predictive analytics for, you know, our education customers around enrollment forecasting and retention. You know, our customers are leveraging a number of tools to help them pivot from reactive support to proactive, personalized student engagement. In addition to the predictive analytics, they're leveraging natural language processing for accessibility tools like real-time translation for ELL learners, computer vision for research and virtual labs, and AI-powered student support for things like chatbots and smart recommendations. Rena, what you were talking about in terms of the interactive learning, there's a great organization called Code Signal that does that, where they bring in assessments and trainings and interaction with their chatbot Cosmo, and it really, meets learners where they are, and gets smarter, like all, what AI is meant to do, get smarter as they're interacting with that student. And I'll say, I did take a moment to fantasize, Narayana, about a robot that could sort my laundry and put it away. So, hopefully that's in our near future.
It is,
Yeah,
and
no,
that's when you know it's in everybody, that if we could get that, we can do anything at work.
I think if we didn't have our backgrounds on right now, you'd probably see a lot of laundry behind us. It's pretty universal experience.
No, definitely. I think one of the key components of first topic is, AI is here. There's a lot of different platforms. It's definitely changing the day-to-day on different priority sectors that we've seen across the panelists. But one common theme I think that was kind of suggested by all the panelists was the ethical component and the importance of that and implementing and making sure that we prepare our students to ethically use AI as a tool. So appreciate the first topic and conversation. Want to segue into the next topic that, all of us here know the importance of it, which is workforce development. Workforce development is the backbone of a resilient economy. So preparing our future workforce, our current workforce is crucial. So want to jump into the first question, and Dr. Provitt, I'll leave it with you because Deloitte has a great array of services in the LA area, and you guys do a lot. So kind of just want to understand how AI is influencing not just internal operations or efficiency, but also the core product, services, or experiences your industry offers to customer or clients.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a big company that we have so many different branches, both within the higher ed. We have a higher ed practice that keeps tabs on all of those things, as well as outside of higher ed, lots of other AI explorations. But in terms of what I've been able to see is really a lot of how AI can be used to increase efficiency within Office. So we're talking about students, of course. So there's a lot of conversation around how questions that all of our customers come to us with, how we can, all of our higher ed customers, come to us with how can we use AI to better do predictive analytics and that sort of thing that we've already talked about, but also within the general HR space. How can we improve efficiencies? Really, aspects of AI have been around for a very long time. So even though we're saying, of course, we all know this, that AI is a relatively new thing, it is. That's generative AI, but we've been sort of perhaps slowly using efficiency tools for years and years. So we're finding more opportunities to talk with folks about how to continue building on those to what AI looks like now. So I think it's a really exciting thing. And I also think, sort of getting back to your ethics kind of conversation, I think that was brought up before, the idea of this being sort of both bottom up and top down in terms of ethics. I see the bottom up opportunity from students. I happen to be a mom of a university student, and I hear her, I was driving in the car with her, and she was on the phone and talking with a friend about how they got through an assignment very quickly. And the AI, well, I can't remember what she called it. They have some sort of AI test something where they can see if the professor will be able to tell if they've used AI. And one of her friends said, yeah, I did it, and it said it was 100% AI, but I had to turn it in anyway, and my professor didn't even know. So these students know that they know how to use this, but they also know, that's the bad news. The good news is that I'm also hearing things from, my own kid saying that she's learning how to use it as a tool to prompt ideas, not a one and done, you're doing it. So from the top down, I believe there's so much opportunity for leaders to get involved with AI and know that, so that they can be aware of that. And as was brought up before, build policies and processes around how to ultimately not going to be able to cheat their way through the future. So we can't let them cheat their way through here, right?
Thank you, Dr. Profit. Tekla, I want to go back to you because Amazon Web Services is such a impactful industry partner within this realm, and you're the lead of Skills to Jobs. I kind of want to hear how AI is influencing not just internal operations or efficiency, but how your core products, services, or experiences are affecting your day to day. So, any input on that?
Yeah, so I can speak on behalf of our education customers, and it's AI is transforming the higher education value proposition through a number of ways. So when you think about adaptive learning platforms that are adjusting to students' pace and strengths, AI career coaching, we talked a little bit about that. Tooling that aligns academic pathways with market demand, and tailored support services that increase student success and retention. I sit within our global education team, and we view AI not just as a tool, but as a new medium and mechanism for teaching, learning, and academic and career discovery. I'll also add that, uh, many moons ago now, folks moved from Encyclopedia Britannica to online, research and information gathering. And I think in the same way that we needed to build processes and procedures and expectations around that type of documentation and citation, we'll be exploring how we do that with AI. And when you think about how the internet brought access to information and our ability to produce research and solve problems, that much more quickly. Being able to, and I'm plus oneing what you said, Dr. Profit, we're just going to need to learn how to put those parameters in place so that we can accomplish even more.
Thank you. Dr. Wolzinger, as an award-winning innovator at the intersection of education and technology, I'm sure you have some great insight on not just how AI is not just influencing internal operation across the specific industries that you work with, but how is it affecting the customers or clients on the day-to-day?
Yeah, so the customers and clients are expecting, I think, things faster. I mean, that's the big thing in industry. So it used to be that, we would have a workflow and a, kind of a plan to, and I've been working at software companies, to get something out. And it would take usually 1 or 2 years or even longer. And now things come out. In my last company at Eon, is literally every month. I mean, that's a huge change. And so there's questions about, QA, quality assurance and things in that. But I think you're seeing that live happening. You're seeing with even the AI companies, things coming out weekly or daily. And so customers definitely have a different expectation, and they also expect more. So like if there's some projects I'm on now that I think would have taken a few years to do, for example, interactive curriculum and coding and a lot of things that are computer heavy, where you can now just talk to the computer. In fact, Claude just came out with the ability to talk to it this week and get some beautiful results pretty quickly. But you can also have AI debug your stuff, make it accessible, fix the colors, the language, formatting, add audio, add languages to these types of projects where they're kind of AI driven. So I think customers have a much higher expectation of output and speed.
Thank you for that. Now, Ariana, we'd love to hear, as one of the two largest ports in the nation, how that's affecting your day-to-day operations and how you work with clients and customers.
As many of you are aware, we're affected. We're both like hand in the private sector and public sector. One of the things that we do is forecast the volumes of items that are imported and exported outside the country. With what you've heard from DC about tariffs changing just about every day. So these are questions that our leadership have to, get on platforms. And we work with our our internal folks in the background. And it's really helpful to turn around volumes of data. One of the other things, working with our transportation and planning to look at all the information. We build multi-billion-dollar, we built the bridge, we're building and transportation has to be moved around. And we're looking at using AI to help predict what the traffic patterns would be. The one thing I will say for me, and I mentioned the public sector versus private sector, I create a sandbox. First, there's education for everybody, training leadership and staff and the bottom up, and a sandbox where people can generate ideas that doesn't affect our real network. And so this is the experimentation. Fail early, do it quickly. It's been around forever. I used to be a management consultant. That's what we did. But now there's a safe place for that. Those that bubble up to the top then have to show an ROI. Will that really work? So the other thing I would say for the workforce, though, is the guidelines are really, really important. The ethical use, the transparency, the model validation. I know people ask for names. I specifically did not name names because I've tested most of them. They all hallucinate. And so we've got to teach even the students. You know, I've got a student who's first year in college, and the ethical use of it, because my concern is I have a tough time even with the workforce teaching them that it's not magic. You have to check it. So some of the skills that will have to be set is what we've always had: analysis, learning, critical thinking. And my concern is that colleges and universities do not leave that behind and think about just teaching AI. And so that's the one thing I would say. I always give this example. McDonald's, people used to make change. Then they had registers, right, with pictures. And so people did that. The power went out. People didn't know how to give change to a 20. We've got to, whatever courses we have with the workforce, we've still got to retain the human part. Thank you.
Great points by everyone. I just want to reiterate the critical component that Narayana mentioned. I think it goes back to the core components and soft skills of critical thinking, making sure that we review the tool. You're right, Narayana. I sometimes use it myself, and sometimes it imaginates things and just kind of brings things that are not true. So I think that's a big key and component of making sure that the core values that a young workforce professional entering any industry are the critical components of day to day. So appreciate that. I actually want to. Yeah, go
Could I
ahead.
add one more thing? Sorry. One thing that's really important for me and could be in what's taught. There's the commercial part, but we've got machine learning, we've got our own, and we keep the data in our area because that way we can, it's critically important that the information does not get poisoned. It's actually a real word. Think about it. Most of the stuff that you see has been trained on what's on the internet. And any of you have ever gotten into the comment section of anything, there's some really amazing things, but there's also some really toxic things. And from a business perspective, I'm looking for people who understand that there's real stuff and there's play stuff. And many of the younger people coming in think, you know, they're making a fun TikTok thing, but there's consequences in the business. So that part also has to be taught. Thank you.
Great points. Appreciate that. I want to bring in my colleague Alicia to take over moderating the component of workforce and then segueing the last conversation. So, Alicia, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jose. So yeah, I think from what we heard from everybody, it's been really great conversation, especially Matthew reiterating that AI is really relevant for the middle skill and really the need for competencies for that program. So within that, my next topic that I wanted to kind of touch point was, as AI really continues to transform the technology landscape, what roles and skill sets do you believe will really remain resilient or becoming really increasingly critical across industries? So with that, I kind of wanted to start with Tekla, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely. So the market is shifting toward AI-enabled professionals. So industry will need data literate business analysts, AI-augmented healthcare and education professionals, and AI product managers and ethical technologists. The Skills to Jobs team is designing an AI skilling pathway resource for faculty that will become available to higher education institutions this summer. And we're designing these tools for implementation across programs to prepare students for hybrid roles that require AI fluency. Our team considers AI more of a durable skill and less of a specialized technical skill, like you would consider critical thinking or problem solving, as there are few, if any, industries that won't be impacted by AI. And as AI handles routine tasks, and human judgment and creativity and empathy become critical differentiators, and students will need to interpret and question AI outputs. They'll need to solve open-ended problems creatively. They'll need to communicate effectively across disciplines, and they'll need to understand AI's societal impacts and trade-offs. We talked a little bit about this in terms of ethics. And through our skills maps, we encourage faculty to blend the technical depth with liberal arts style critical thinking within all of their courses.
No, that's great. I think it's really important to not lose sight of that and use it as a tool and really enforce that critical thinking aspect. So thank you for sharing that. Dr. Prova, do you have any insights on what roles or skill sets do you think will really remain resilient or become increasingly critical across industries?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that was just said, especially regarding creative problem solving and ethics. I recently, University of Washington, I live up in Seattle now, and it was very clear. Oh, apologies if my internet seems to have been breaking apart a little bit there. So hopefully you could hear that. But if you didn't, what I was saying is that I recently had the opportunity to judge an business case ethics competition. And what became really clear as I was seeing the different student presentations is that some really did just use AI to prepare their presentations and some did not. And we had the opportunity as judges to call that out. So I believe that the more that is brought into the curriculum of the ethics in particular, and the how it takes additional problem solving skills to use a in this case, a presentation that was begun by AI and clearly not morphed through how the student could have used it, it will create, hopefully, those improved soft skills and critical thinking skills that the students need to be successful after they graduate.
I completely agree with that. Thank you for sharing. And then Nyarnia, do you have any insights specifically that you're the Chief Information Officer, that if there's any roles or skill sets that you're seeing at the Port of Long Beach?
I agree with everything I've heard so far, but again, the ethical part, there's a new part, liberal arts. It seemed everybody was doing STEM. I'm actually a computer scientist, and I absolutely, completely believe in everything the liberal arts were teaching. So I think there's going to be a new role. It's before we call it, quality assurance, but it isn't. But from AI, because they're always going to be assessing and actually really trying to understand what the output is. So a combination of not just the usual QA, but like everybody says, every role will have this. It's a part of it. AI fluency is a part of it. And people say data scientists, but it's going to be much more. And just like technology, we used to call it, shadow IT when other people are doing it. But I think it'll be the citizen technologist before, and it's going to be the citizen AI. And so these are the roles that will have that. The one thing I do want to add to what Dr. Provit said, I'm finding a lot of people, like when we're looking at resumes, are using AI to generate the resumes. So I have changed what I put in the job description. I'm always telling my staff, don't put every little thing there that's needed, because people just use that. And so leave some things out so that when people have to explain it. And it was in the news recently, and we found it too. Many of the resumes that come in for jobs look exactly the same. Everybody's using Gen AI. So it's actually a waste of time. And some companies have actually then, they actually want people to come in person and explain what they're doing. And I'm saying, even in HR, there's now a new role, not just review resume. Yeah, it's got this, but they've got to look at it and see, is this real? Is this just generated? They're all the same. That's one area too. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really good point to kind of see what is happening within that. So Dr. Wolzinger, do you have any insights on this as well?
I do. So I think the important thing now is that we're doing things that we're probably not an expert at everything that we think that we're doing. And so one of the things I've noticed, ever since, back in undergraduate, being an engineer, having those logic steps, communication, and a good team to work with is really, really important. So when I create something, and I notice a lot of experts in industry now, I'm on their teams as well to reach out. So it's important when you're doing things, did you miss a logic step? Are there other people that maybe are in programming or creative arts or writing or whatever you're producing that can go through that with you? And accessibility and ethics. So, did you ask the right questions? And I found a lot of times I forget, I might not have asked a certain question. And so the output I'm getting could be way better. And I've learned through my team of experts that I always work with, and they're not in my company, it's just people from different industries that I know are experts. And that has made my people like myself better at generating really good things with AI. The danger with AI is you could generate anything, right? It's a box. So more than ever, students need to have, and professionals, really good communication, problem solving, but actually really good teamwork and a really, really great network in order to make sure that your output is what you want it to be.
If I could plus one on that, the effective prompt engineering in interacting with the AI tools is going to be critical and, will need to become second nature across sectors. Right. And I think that's something that, if I would say is the critical skill that needs to be acquired regardless of your program, that would be the one, because it ties in the critical thinking, it ties in the problem solving, it ties in, thinking about what do you want to get out of this experience with the AI tool. And then, like you said, working within teams to ensure that you're capturing everyone's sentiment within your question or problem that you're posing.
I absolutely I was about to say prompt engineering. So everything that you said, one of the things that I'm calling it, we got to build a common vocabulary here at the port on AI. What is AI? What is machine learning? What are large language models? But prompt engineering is one of the biggest things. And I'm thinking of having, I wanted classes for everybody, and I'm looking out there and I thought about, wow, community college, that would be so great, but I'm having to create it. And it takes from all this skill set. It is lacking out there. People think prompting, it's not just, oh, here it is and what it is. There is a science to it. It's still, people are coming up to it. But if the colleges and community colleges can really help that, they'll be at the forefront actually beyond what even advanced graduate students are doing.
Yeah. I was about to say something very similar, but also offer that one thing Deloitte's been doing within our higher ed practice team is offering specific trainings on how we can better write prompts. And we even have a concierge prompt role. It came up earlier about making sure that your leaders are educated on how to use this technology so that they can then understand the policies that need to apply to the rest of the organization. Because until you really get your hands into it, it is really hard to understand the challenges and how to do this right.
No, definitely. Thank you for sharing that. And Dr. Wolzinger, I kind of wanted to segue into the next question, since you are the technical director for this. Beyond technical proficiency, what uniquely, let's call them like human skills or soft skills that you think are really critical or crucial when working alongside AI tools, do you think is important?
So what's interesting is now I spend a lot of my day either talking or typing to AI. It could be like learning software. So I've been teaching software for 25 years, but now like I had to rebrand somebody else's PowerPoint. So I just turned on, ChatGPT, and I just started asking it, how do I do this rebranding? I'm not an expert at how to do this. Or I can just turn on Copilot and just talk to it and get the answer. So it's completely changing teaching, because we don't need to teach like what button to push anymore, because you can talk with computers and it can give you answers. It can even make the changes for you. Soft skills are really changing, because now we're going to be talking to humans and computers for the first time. So I might say, hey, make a file in my directory. I'm going to make a program. Okay. And it'll say, and I can actually train it how to talk back to me. So I train it to be respectful. Okay, Dr. Walzinger, I did this folder. Okay. And then I have to now talk with it in a logical order. That's why the critical thinking is like, I'm telling you, I haven't had this much critical thinking in my life in a long time, because Now I have to tell it each thing to do because computer soft skills, you do have skills with computers talking as well as humans, and those are different because a computer needs like individual directions. If you skip one thing, your output doesn't work out right. As far as soft skills, again, networking is, I think, the most important, and I love what Tekla said about that, because you have to reach out. You have to be honest with yourself and with what you're trying to produce, whether it's within your company or within your external team and faculty with other faculty. It's pretty important. In fact, classes I'm teaching in AI, believe it or not, are filled with administrators and board members for the first time in my long career. So how do you talk with AI? So the soft skills now have two dimensions, in my opinion, with talking to computers like Star Trek, and then talking with each other, networking even more.
Tekla, I kind of wanted to go to you on if you've seen any soft skills that are critical that you think is important.
Yeah, so I definitely talked to some of them, right? So, you know, how AI is used at a conceptual level, where bias and error can occur, how to use AI responsibly, you know, within their field. I also think, you know, training, you know, learners, incumbent workers on how to leverage AI as a thought partner. There is an executive from a very large ed tech company who I met with a couple of years ago, and she told me about her morning ritual of sitting at her kitchen table with a cup of coffee and having a conversation with an AI tool. And, you know, really, you know, talking about just some things that had been on her mind in terms of business, you know, current events, you know, things with her family, and just learning how to use this tool as a thought partner. And in the same way that we wouldn't just go to one colleague for everything, we'd want to go to, you know, a number of different people to gain insights and to, you know, build, you know, a business strategy or a plan. You know, you could leverage an AI tool as one of those thought partners.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I never really thought of it as a thought partner, but then, you know, when you talk to it consecutively, it does have ideas. So I think that's something to think about. Thank you for sharing. Nyarnia, by any chance, do you have any insights on this as well?
I think those were all great ideas. The soft skills, as we mentioned before, we've got to keep the human in it. You can get all these answers from whatever tool you get, but if the humans don't understand the broader context, and then if you're communicating that to somebody else as your work, you'd better make sure that you understand what it is that you saw. I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear on that, but the other part I'm going to say is, as the public agency part of us, in California PRA, anybody can request access to see anything. One of my challenges is if somebody has used one of Gen AIs to create a document, and let's say they made an HR violation or somebody sues us, in the past, we can collect and say, look, this is what you wrote here. I see a future where somebody say, I didn't do that. I was using Gen AI. They inserted that horrible word in there, not me. So one of the challenges when you're teaching the soft skills is that, especially for managers, I'm doing a course, especially for the managers or future managers coming in, to how do you actually manage people who are actually using Gen AI. And you've got to keep the human part. They've done some studies in some universities that find if people find that you use Gen AI, they said to generate their performance appraisal, they have a very, very negative reaction to it. So it's not all, we've got to really think where are the cases, and that's a soft skill, especially for anybody interacting with other team members. And then as a manager interacting with the people that you manage, how you use it, how you communicate it will be really, really important.
That's a really important, crucial aspect of the soft skill that's important. And Dr. Prabhu, do you have any other insights on this as well?
No, I don't right now. I would turn it over to somebody else on the panel. It'd be great.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I want to be really cognizant of time and get folks that are on here to also engage with y'all. So I'll have one more question, and it's really about building equitable talent pipelines within the community colleges. as we heard from Luke and also Matt, that it's such an integral part and there's a lot of different programs that are being built. So I think with that, I would kind of want to ask, how can educational institutions, particularly community colleges, really better prepare students to adapt and really thrive alongside these evolving AI technologies? If there's any insights that you have, so I can kind of just open the floor to anybody who wants to kind of give their insight on that.
I can start. So there are a number of ways that this can happen, and some can be embedding AI models into general education and CTE programs. Schools can build stackable credentials, that are industry aligned, that address AI skills, and then really think about how schools can expose students early and often to AI tools through applied learning. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Our Skills to Jobs team, utilizes applied learning to connect learners with employers. And we do this through things like Party Rock hackathons, or tournaments rather, that, build in that engagement with AI tooling, but then also bringing industry to the table as well.
And I will add that along the same lines, I think this is a wonderful opportunity for institutes of higher learning to involve students in policy and guideline setting. I think that the students are leading the way in their use of it. So it would be a shame to not have young student leaders part of this conversation.
Absolutely. And some of the sorry, go on.
Yeah, so I've taught a lot of educators, K-12 and higher ed all over the globe now, and it's really interesting. There is definitely an age gap where I've had K-12 principals that have banned AI from their schools, faculty that are upset that we have ChatGPT EDU in the CSU system. So a lot of resistance, and I will say it's unfair for sure, because if you're teaching English, for example, like my sister does, she's a professor in folklore mythology, and everything is essay based. You have to really change the way that you teach. And so then you need to make a decision as a professional in education, like, am I going to do this or am I going to exit? Because it really comes down to that. And the answer isn't like you can ignore it, ban it, and all that. Have you heard from everybody? It's required for work. So, how do you use it to edit, tutor, change your assignment? So as faculty, depending on which end of what you teach, putting in the time to redo your assignments, do things in person. I mean, I'm in the age where I did everything in pencil, so Pencil 1.0 works great, still does. So there's changes that we have to do. It's work, but it's change to make sure our job is to make sure everybody's learning. And so I think, just ignoring that this is there is impossible. We have a box, and the human nature, when I sit down, is like type in that box instead of just, doing everything the way I used to do it. And that's everybody's human nature. So it's not going to be going away. And it is hard to deal with. So I do have a lot of empathy for the teachers that you have to change a lot of things, but that's kind of just the world we're living in right now.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things I wanted to add is the change management aspect. And in the university, we're talking about the students, but for what I had to do here at the port, and I think I had to educate the leaders and above and give them the language and the tools, because that will help some of the resistance that you might meet. So before, in addition to the students having these courses, I think it's good for all the faculty and everybody to come to what do we want this to be? How will it be used? And well, will it not be used? And the reason I want to make sure there's two sides to it, depending on the company you go to, it's not going to be everything AI. So some people may go to some companies and go, wait, I thought everybody's using all the latest. I chat with many CIOs across the spectrum. Most organizations are in the experimental stage. There's parts of the organization who are absolutely pro AI and using it all the way, maybe some of the more engineering types. And there's other areas, as you mentioned, that are not. So depending on the job the students get, they need to be able to adapt. And it's not just the AI part, it's the change management skills. When my son was in elementary school, it happened at that time, one of the teachers is like, we're not teaching people how to write They had tablets and everything. And so my son, who could really write really well in preschool, now just has chicken scratches. And it comes to the point where there are times where you need to write, and they've actually found the art of writing, we haven't involved that much, actually helps people learn. So they've got to be flexible. There's going to be places where they work, where they don't have that tool, and they're going to have to learn how to add. Remember the McDonald's, if the power grid goes out, are you still able to, if there's a fire, if there's a disaster such that they don't have access to it, they still need those skills. So I would say everybody in the university should learn, get the common language. What is the goal for your particular? And you've seen some goals set at the statewide level. And what we think is true today may be augmented next year by something completely different. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I know that we've seen a lot of people in the chat with a lot of questions, so we kind of want to just open the floor to anybody that's here. Please raise your hand for any of the panelists if you have any questions. If not, we're happy to kind of go through some of the questions that we see in the chat. I'll leave like a few minutes for anybody who wants to raise their hand.
While you do that, I may mention an example that I used. Cybersecurity. So we've got, the firewall. You can put all the tools you want in the world, but 90%, 97% of successful ransomware is from the lack of human awareness. They still get through with social engineering. So with the cybersecurity training that I have every quarter, 100% participation, 100% clear, I use in the background our own with the machine learning. We've created something that I see, are there certain roles that tend to click on the fake phishing emails that we sent? Are there specific particular person that tends to click? So we get their patterns and then we customize the next training to those groups of people or the person so we can do it. And it's got to be 5 minutes and quick. So that's an example of in the background change management, thinking of the human. It's not one size fits all. I'm not forcing anybody. So just thought I'd fill in your time there.
No, thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate that. If I'll read one of the questions from the chat box. Karen Stacey, by any chance, do you want to raise your hand and say the question yourself? If not, I can read it too. Okay, she asked, to the experts, what training platforms or certification programs would you recommend for faculty to remain current with the latest developments and innovations in AI? I can leave the floor to anybody who wants to kind of start with that.
So Amazon AWS has our AI practitioner certification, and I'm happy to put information about that certification through our training and certification team in the chat.
Yeah, I was going to say, so the certifications we offer at eduvators.net are for educators and content creators specifically. But in industry, it's different because you're going to be using AI for different things, like whether you're in customer success or sales or whatever. And in fact, my kids all have the AWS certifications and all in their industries that they were required to do at work. So in different industries, that's a huge one if that's the environment that you're working in.
We have another question from Jennifer Alvarado. I'm not sure if you wanted to ask it. I'm happy to also ask it as well.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Alvarado. I have a question for you about accessibility of tools that we're going to ask students to use, since we have to comply with the ADA on anything we present to students, and it moves so fast. So how are we going to learn the tool, make sure it's accessible, and get students to use it?
I'm going to start with that. So at Eduvators, we have an accessibility officer from the community colleges. It's been there for over 30 years. So I think that's a really critical question, because you can create stuff that's not accessible, but you also have the opportunity to create stuff that's accessible. And I put it in the chat, but my favorite thing I learned, because I just retook the course, is captioning with the help of ChatGPT, where you can create your files and then it maintains the timing and fixes all your punctuation. So as a faculty, I can tell you, creating videos for technical stuff takes us hours and hours and hours, and now we can do it better. Then we can offer it in different languages, make audio files in different languages as well, so we can add to the accessibility. We can go in all the PDFs and change the colors to be accessible, and then have it recheck that. So one thing I can tell you is using Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini, all three understand the accessibility laws and the rules, and it's been working really well. So that's something that's been really improved, I think, over the last 2 years with those tools.
Would agree with
Hello?
them. Using some of the well-established tools, they'll be around for a while. And if you're experimenting with some, they may not. That's why I have a sandbox versus what's real. And agree with what you said.
And I would offer up too that, like any training, I believe training is done best when it's not a one and done. So credentials and certifications are wonderful, but I think when you look at your overall communications plan, there should be multiple points of different types of training to get to the diversity of how your faculty and students and staff and all learners actually learn.
And to add to that, with the cybersecurity awareness training, I do it quarterly, but it's not hours and hours. They're 5-minute snippets, accessible, fun. And so meet them where they are. What's the communication plan and how often, but not people are going to hate it if you've got 4 hours that you're giving them very often. Once they've got the initial training, continue, find a snippet, and maybe you can use whatever tool you have to help you create a customized training for them.
Don't see any other questions in the chat to everybody, but I know, Pablo, you have your hand raised.
Yes, thank you, Alicia. And the question might have been answered already, but you know, we received a question in the registration but before the advisory. It was about how do we create strategies for upskilling current employees to take advantage of AI tools, but also gain AI skills. I know we've covered it, but that was one of the questions that was presented before the advisory.
Yeah, I think just jump in. I think the importance of, I think it was addressed in the chat as well as in various questions. I think the importance of making sure incumbent worker training or incumbent workers are, well informed about the current skills is very important, as all the panelists kind of mentioned. It's very crucial. So thank you for that, Pablo. Again, we kind of want to open it up. If you have any direct questions, if you're a little shy, you want to drop it in the chat, we'd be more than happy to read it as well. In the meantime, I want to go to the panelists and kind of get one more question from each and every one of you and kind of just summarize, if there's one thing that faculty and deans can take away from this conversation, what do you say you can kind of inform them? So I want to open it up to anyone. And I know it's very broad and it's probably a lot, but maybe just summarizing on what you think the most important thing that they can take away.
I can start. Having the leaders increase their own ability in knowledge about AI. Because again, this has come up in a couple different answers that we've all given. It's really hard to intelligently establish a strategy if it's a technology that you haven't experienced and you're not familiar with the terms. So whatever that looks like for the organization, that could mean taking training, that could mean having a concierge type person identified that one can go to. I know I've worked in organizations where we had our Excel expert who everyone sort of tapped when they needed to. So whatever that looks like to increase the level of education in the leadership, that will be able to, I think, propel your organization to tackle all of this.
I agree with that. I always start with general AI awareness and training. What is Gen AI? What is it not? It's really that simple. If everybody in the organization doesn't have a common vocabulary, it will be very difficult. And then the guidance, once you've understood what it is, even if, what can it do? A general guidance and general risk management, it has to be baked into everything. There are some real ethical issues. Not everybody comes to this with, some it would be accidental, there are others where it's intentional. This is where my cybersecurity awareness is coming from. So, and then build the skills and divisions across the areas, upskilling in existing ones, and it's a bottom up. And I like the idea of the subject matter experts, the go-to, the ambassadors, but everybody needs a common language. I don't mean they all need to be machine learning experts. Just what is AI? What is Gen AI? What is some of the existing? Start with the education. And common communication plan is change management. Segment, not everybody learns the same way. Thank you.
As far as schools go, I think, every school needs an AI policy, and I'll tell you why, because our job is to make sure everybody's learning. So, are they learning even though we have these tools? But the other job is to make sure that we're safe. And so not everybody is a researcher. So like we know in research to de-identify students, de-identify things. So how do you do that in AI if you want to ask a question? How do you turn off the AI, go and basically they mostly have incognito mode or don't train on my stuff? When can you put information in there? When can't you? How do you de-identify information and still use it in research? That's really important in education. I used to work for WestEd, so basically that was like the main thing is all the things that we were doing were not accessible in the public, but now we're using these tools that are on the web. And how do you do that safely? And that's really important right now because I bet any amount of money that's being violated right now because we don't have those policies and those understandings. And again, not everybody's a researcher. So I think that stuff needs to get done first is, how to use it safely. And then the question is, how do you ensure everybody's learning? So I'll be excited to see every institution take on those things.
So I actually want to give a shout out to faculty. We're talking about all of this tech and, prior to joining AWS, I was leading workforce partnerships for the Community College of Rhode Island system. And, faculty are and will be the front line to our rising workforce. And they're trusted by students to arm them with the exact skills they need for the career jobs they want to obtain post-graduation. And it's why our work with Skills to Jobs is at the faculty level, so that faculty maintain ownership of their programs and that trust with their students. And there's a real opportunity to supercharge productivity with AI across industries like business, manufacturing, healthcare that we talked about today, and public and private sectors with faculty at the center will need to continue to come together to ensure that the workforce has the skills they need to maximize the opportunity in front of us.
No, those are great points. I think what I took from that, I think the most important thing is we need to be aware of what AI is and kind of get an understanding. I think it's the most important component. I like the motto of whether it be in institutionalizing a committee on AI, having an expert, just kind of making sure that your current workforce understand what AI is, and then going from there and making sure that we utilize it ethically and having different policies. So appreciate your components and all the feedback that you mentioned on that question. I know it's a very difficult question because there's a lot you can definitely say on what to take on AI. But again, want to open it up to the audience. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. You can also unmute or drop it in the chat. We have a few more minutes for any Q&A. Again, anybody that has any questions, feel free to put it in the chat.
I'll come off mute. I have a question here. Just really as a follow-up. I'm glad that you guys think the topic of prompt engineering came up because I think that is kind of a key component to the AI discussion is how to really define your prompts and get the information that you need from AI, from generative AI. So what we're doing here at West is West Los Angeles College is developing a course, several courses, but one of the courses is going to focus on prompt engineering and how to define prompts, this course, as you mentioned, the hallucinations, but prompt and reprompt and follow up to get the key information that you need for whatever topic that you're trying to get an answer for. So glad to hear that because West is on the course on the pathway to creating something like that. But it sounds like that it was a common thread at least partially in your discussions, and I was glad to hear that. So that's just my that's the end of my comment. Thanks.
Thank you for that. I think, you know, community college is adapting and making sure that the AI is here, as industry experts are saying, is crucial. So thank you for that. Any other comments for the floor, for the panelists? Feel free to put it in the chat or unmute. We have a few more minutes. If not, then we can segue to summarize our findings. I'll pass it on to Alicia, and then we can close out. But we'll love to kind of give the opportunity for any other questions that the audience may have.
I was going to just respond to Bill for a second. So Bill, in prompt engineering, it's like the first time you get sometimes like garbage. The second time you get closer, third time maybe you get it right. Then the next time AI can tend to go on its own direction. So doing a prompt engineering course with projects, you'll find that that's how it is right now. So I think that's going to be really great for people to do like kind of project-based courses and see, you know, you have to sit there and do it to kind of experience that and then get good at kind of iterating and then when to stop and then when to start over. And that's not something we're kind of used to, because when we write, we kind of write and we improve, we write and we improve, we keep doing that. But with AI, it's like we do it 3 times and it just does its own thing. So it's really different than our prior experiences. So thanks for your comment.
If there's no question, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
I was just going to summarize. You know, this advisory was very unique because it's a different perspective, right? We know AI is here. However, we do have our challenges and our obstacles with AI. So appreciate the panelists one more time, and thank you to the faculty and deans again. It's an understanding of what we should be doing more effectively or what we're doing just to improve. Again, we've heard across different priority sectors as our panelists represent that AI is here. It's here to stay. It's a future you know, trend that's changing very consistently and rapidly. So I think colleges, community colleges are doing a great job, but there's also room for improvement. Industry, I think, as well, creating those partnerships long term can definitely help us prepare our workforce as well. So I just kind of wanted to summarize that. I'll pass it on to Alicia to close us out. And then again, just wanted to thank everyone.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Jose. I know we still have a few more minutes. If there's no more questions as well, I want to thank all the panelists for the great engagement that you had and just being experts in the field. I know this was a different advisory that we've had in the past. So hearing all the different perspectives from all the different industries that's been impacted, and also just understanding that AI isn't as scary as we assume it to be, because I know within education institutions, there's still that unknown factor within AI. So just hearing the opportunities that there are, what skills to really focus on, and what are some of the programs that are being developed is really great to hear from that, and also hearing from all the experts themselves. I know Pablo has a quick poll that he wanted to do before we end and close out, but I'll leave it up to him to kind of open that as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Alicia. Yes, on behalf of LADC and LARC, we have just a quick Zoom poll just to see how the engagement is and how we can improve for our next advisories in the future. So I'll go ahead and put that up right momentarily. It should take no more than a couple minutes of your time, and we appreciate it here as we close out. So let me go ahead and launch it here. And
thank you, everybody, for this opportunity to chat with you all.
No, and thank you, and thank you all to all of our panelists. We appreciate it. Please, as we close out, we would love your feedback, your poll, for you to answer our poll as we close out, and that way we can continue to improve, continue to bring these high quality conversations to you in the future. This has been an incredible insight into something very important in all industries, across multiple industries, and we appreciate all the participation.
Yes, and just wanted to follow up for the audience. We will be following up with the PowerPoint presentation, recording, as well as the lookbook that contains the supply and demand data. Once again, thank you so much. The panelists, you guys provided such great insights. I think we left this meeting knowing a little bit more about AI, but again, appreciate everyone. We will be in touch. And again, thank you for your attendance today.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I guess we will end here. Give back 5 minutes of your day. Appreciate all the participation, and I look forward to the follow-up information as we have it. Thank you very much, everyone.